I'm Clinton Anderson, and I have a method for training horses. Getting horses to behave is simple. It's training people that's the real trick. Join me as I tackle some of the most challenging situations with problem horses and with problem owners.
Okay, mate, we've given Cider a break now and we've come back to work with her again. I've put the halter and lead rope on her. Let's review what we've got to do. We've got her to round pen, change directions. We worked on getting her to give us 2 eyes so that if we look at her hindquarters, she knows to disengage her hindquarters and face us. This is very, very important. Notice the slack in the halter. Remember how I said, if you teach your horse to yield their hindquarters as if you don't have the halter on, when you do put the halter on, the horse already knows what you want them to do. So it's very, very important that they can do this. Get control of that hindquarters from the beginning here. Next thing we're going to start to work with her is I want to desensitize Cider to me and my tools. She's very jumpy and spooky. So I've got to get her not to be frightened of me or any of my tools. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start throwing my rope at her and getting her to where she'll stand still and not worry about the rope. See how she's moving her feet and getting upset about it? So this is where we use approach and retreat. We approach the horse with the spooky object, and then we retreat when the horse stands still, okay, and relaxes. That's it. So I just keep following her. I keep her head tipped towards me, and I wait for 2 things to happen. For her to stop moving her feet, and for her to relax, okay? It's very important to keep the horse's head tipped towards you. By keeping their head tipped towards you, their hindquarters is always away. So she's thinking about stopping here, okay? Now she finally stood still. I want her to stand still and show me a sign of relaxing. She's starting to cock her left hind leg, so I'll retreat there. There's 5 major signs of a horse relaxing. Lowering their head and neck is number 1. Licking the lips is number 2. Cocking their hind leg is number 3. Taking a big breath or sign is number 4. And blinking their eyes is number 5. They're the 5 major signs of a horse relaxing. So whenever we're desensitizing, we always start at the horse's withers and back. Then we move on to the horse's hindquarters, okay? And then the horse's neck. So this is the top line. Now it's back legs, and then it's front legs. A lot of horses do not like this around their back legs, okay? So it's very important to do this. You notice that I'm standing at a 45-degree angle to her shoulder. I'm too far in front to get kicked, and I'm too far to the side to get struck. And the last thing I do is pitch the whole rope over her back here. So I love the fact that she's standing here with a leg cocked. So she initially got pretty scared, but then she relaxed. Excellent. Very, very good. That's what we're looking for here. Good job. So I'm going to repeat this a few more times, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now remember, change sides, you change brain. So whatever we do on one side, we do on the other. You get your hand up by the horse's eye in case the horse tries to push on top of you or run over you. You can get your hand away and drive them away. Okay, so she got initially pretty scared on the other side, didn't she? Okay, withers and back. Always start with the least sensitive part of their body, which is the withers and back. Then it's the top of the hindquarters. Then it's the neck. It's what we call the weather shield. If your horse stands out in the rain and wind, they're always going to stand with their butt or back facing the rain and wind. They're not going to stand there with their face in that direction, okay? Hind legs, she's doing pretty good. Then front legs, okay? I do remember them saying that she had a bit of a problem around the legs. That's why we want to desensitize her. So far I noticed that she can be pretty reactive, which is normal. She's a horse, of course, okay? So it's very important to make sure that she's comfortable with us throwing our tools at her. I want to throw things at my horse that are never gonna hurt them. Excellent. So again, I'm going to practice this a little bit more and then we'll move on. Now, my next piece of equipment I want to desensitize her is our handy stick. I want to be able to rub this stick all over Cider's body. Down her hindquarters here, withers and back, upper neck, okay? Start to go down her back legs, front legs. You notice she's getting quieter all the time. The more tools that we can desensitize her to, the better. So grade 1 is the rope. Grade 2 is the stick and string. Okay, I use this stick and string a bunch with wild horses and Mustangs, so that way I don't have to get so close to them when I'm first getting them gentle. So instead of flogging her with anger, and she's had a lot of that in her life, let's start flogging her with kindness. So it's very similar to the rope, is it goes over the horse's back, except now we're using the stick and string. Okay, hindquarters. So I just want to flog her with kindness, where I'm just swinging this over her. It's not hurting her or hitting her, but it's getting her used to the movement of the stick and string all over her. Again, get your hand up by their eye, stand at a 45-degree angle to their shoulder. Excellent. Hind legs, front legs. Now, if she would kick at this or get worried, we would just keep doing it until she stood still. Okay? As long as I'm at a 45-degree angle, I don't have to worry about getting hurt. It's very, very important. I keep saying it over and over again. Whatever you do on one side, you must do it on the other side. Okay? Horses learn through repetition. See how I got my hand up there? She kind of started to come towards me. So I wanted to shake my hand at her and say, don't run over me now. If your horse kicks at this, you just keep doing it. When she was moving around, when she was frightened of me with the rope, I just kept her head tipped towards me and I kept moving the rope until she stood still and relaxed. And then I retreated. Next thing we're gonna do is I wanna be able to spank the ground with the stick and string right beside her. But before I can do that, I need to be able to get her confident about standing still with me spanking the stick and string around the ground. See, this is why we use the stick. It's a great tool to desensitize your horse. Okay, so I'm following her, I'm spanking the ground with rhythm. Okay, I'm gonna wait till she stands still and she relaxes. Wait, she stood still. I'm looking for a sign of her relaxing. Licking her lips, lowering her head and neck, cocking her hind leg. There, she kind of licked her lips just then. I'll retreat and rub her. Okay, now some horses won't show you a sign of relaxing, but they will stand still for 15 seconds. If that's the case, then you retreat. I like how she's got her left hind leg cocked then. So every time I do this, I'm gonna bring it in a little closer each time until eventually it's spanking right beside her hind leg. Good girl. Okay, we'll do it again. Now, see how I got my hand up then? She kind of stepped towards me then, and I got my hand and I kind of tapped it on the side of her face. Don't let them push into you. It's very, very important, like right there. If you let them run over you, they will. Don't let them do it. Right there, I tapped her again. Even though she's frightened, I will not let her run over the top of me. So I'm spanking the ground. I love that. See how she got her leg cocked? So I'll retreat and rub her. So it's very important, okay, to keep that pressure or stimulus there until they stand still and relax. So she's still kind of jumpy with this, isn't she? She needs more of it, approach and retreat. That is how you desensitize horses, okay, is by approaching and retreating. That's a lot better there. Excellent. Now, whatever we do on one side, I'll keep going over it again. We do it on the other. I just follow her, get my hand up by her eye, so that way she can't change sides on me or run over me. She's frightened of this, so we keep following her. We keep following her. And we wait for two things to happen. First thing she's got to do is stop moving her feet. Second thing she's got to do is show me a sign of relaxing, or at least stand still for 15 seconds. Okay. Keep following her. Keep following her. Wait. Waiting. Now she stood still. There, she licked the lips. It's a great place to retreat. Now, if your horse doesn't show you a sign of retreating, relaxing or by licking their lips or doing one of the 5 signs, wait there for at least 15 seconds and then you can retreat. It's whatever happens first. Bring it a little closer. Okay. So I think so far she's going to be relatively easy to desensitize. She's initially kind of reactive and spooky, but by working with her now, I think she's going to be relatively quiet mare. We'll see. Excellent. And then the last thing we'll do is we'll do it out in front of the horse. Okay, you want to desensitize all 3 sides of our horse. So initially I start out going from side to side, and then I'll do more of a figure 8. Look how quiet she's got, how quickly. This is what happens when you use this method. The Downunder Horsemanship method will work on any horse, any breed, any age, okay? Whether the horse has been abused, whether the horse is just green broke, whether it's a wild Mustang and never been touched. Look how quiet she's got in such a short amount of time. This is happening not by coincidence. It's happening because we've started to get Cider's respect by moving her feet, forwards, backwards, left and right, and by getting her to use the thinking side of her brain and do a lot of retreating and rubbing them on their face. Excellent. Good job. Now I'm going to get my hands, see if I can get my hands on her a little bit more and get her to just accept this a little bit. When they're kind of a little bit wild or frisky, okay, I don't get so close to them with my hands until I know that they're safe to be around. Okay, that's why I use the stick and string, because it's an extension of my arm. Okay, that's a go. Excellent. Very, very good. Good girl.
Check out our latest catalogue from Downunder Horsemanship. It's filled with beautiful imagery and in-depth information on all the products used in this show. Visit our website or call this number and we'll send it to your door free of charge.
Now that we've got a little bit of a handle on Cider, that we can yield her hindquarters, we've desensitized her with the rope and the stick and string, and I feel like she's, I know what I've got now, okay? Now it's important that we start using protective leg boots on our horses, okay? The reason why I use leg boots on them, at least on their front legs, that's for sure. I don't usually put them on the hind legs unless I'm doing a lot of stopping and turning and rollbacks and things like that, but for majority of horses, the front legs for sure, is that when you're asking a horse to stop and turn, often they're going to stand on themselves or whack one hoof against their cannon bone. When you do that, it hurts, of course. Well, 2 things it can do. It can cause your horse to have splints, which are unsightly and will devalue your horse if you ever go to sell them, and it can also make them lame as well. But not only that, every time a horse hits themselves against themselves with their hoof, and you're asking them to do something that you want them to do, anytime a horse gets hurt when you ask them to do something, they get discouraged. Of course, you wouldn't want to do something if every time I asked you to do it, you bumped yourself or you got hurt, you wouldn't want to do it anymore. So the protective leg boots are very, very important to protect your horse. Not just against concussion from the other hoof, it supports their ligaments, their tendons, their suspension. The old saying is no legs, no horse. That's exactly right. If you don't protect their legs and take care of their legs, you're not going to have a horse to train anyway. So the boots that I use are what we call the legacy boots, okay? They're made by Classic Equine. They are by far the very best leg protective boots you can have in the business, okay? There's lots of different brands out there, but these are the ones I've used for about 7 years now. So when I'm going ahead and I'm going to put these on her, she's never had her on her, of course. She's a little bit frightened of this, so I might do a little bit of approach and retreat, okay? And then I might just go ahead and move the boot around her. If I can't get the boot around her, I'm never gonna be able to touch her with it. So she's kind of frightened of the boot, which is normal. She's never had them near her before, okay? When she relaxes, I'll retreat and rub her. So step one is, if I can't just move the boot around her, how am I ever gonna get it on her? There we go, okay? Excellent, rub her down with it. Then I'm gonna slowly start to go down a leg, use a little bit of approach, and then back up here and retreat. And a little further, approach, and then retreat, okay? Rub my hands down a leg a little bit, just figure out how she's gonna react to that. Rightio. Now, the next thing we're gonna do is actually go ahead and put them on her. They'll kind of walk around with their legs real high in the beginning and step kind of funny, because it's like wearing socks for the first time. Okay. There we go. Now, it's very important to get them nice and tight, okay? I usually do the second strap first, then put my thumb here, get the first one, then come fit back here for that cradle, okay? So I want them to be up a little higher than what you want, because they'll probably start to work their way down anyway, okay? Now when I walk her off, this is gonna be new for her, and it is, okay? So she's got to get used to wearing them. I usually put them on just a little bit higher than what you normally would want, because they're gonna work their way down anyway. A mare like this is gonna take a medium size. They come in medium, small, medium, large, extra large. The boots come in just about any color you can imagine. They've got some really cool colors involved in this boot line. So, whatever we do on one side, we do it on the other. I wanna wave the boot around her and desensitize the airspace. If she's frightened, I'm gonna keep following her. Okay, until she does two things. So she stands still there and relaxes, and then I'll retreat. That's a go, and retreat, and do it again. Okay, and then I'm gonna start to rub her with it. Go down a leg, and then retreat. Go down a leg a little further, and then retreat. That's it, let me just bring her over here. So from this day on, every time I work her, I'm gonna for sure have front boots on her, okay? For sure have front boots on her. Rub her here. I think she'll stand here pretty good. Rightio. Get it up under this cradle here. Pull it up nice and tight and around. Then do the top one. See how I said how sticky that Velcro is? That's a nice problem to have. Excellent. There we go. Now, if she goes to hit herself, she's not gonna hurt herself. She's a little bit unsure about how to walk in these.
Anything worth having is worth working for, that's for sure. Not gonna make it here if you got any quit in you.
This is where I needed to be the best that I could be. And that's just what we do here.
Dedication, ambition, passion. To some, these are more than ideals. They are a lifestyle, a code, a path to something greater. If you think you're one of the select few who can rise to the challenge, who can dedicate themselves to mastering the method through 70 weeks of in-depth, hands-on training, let the Clinton Anderson Academy catapult your skills and provide you with the ultimate experience. If you have what it takes, become a Clinton Anderson certified clinician and change your life.
So I noticed this mare's got a lot of flies on her. Before I actually start doing some new exercises with her, it's very important to make sure that there's plenty of fly spray on your horse before you start working with them, okay? Or if the flies come bad during the session, put it on them. If your horse is constantly distracted by flies and kicking at them and biting at them and being mentally and physically distracted by it, okay, they're not going to be able to focus on the exercise anywhere near as much as you want them to. So it really is important to do this, okay? Especially in different parts of the country in the summertime. As it gets hotter, they get really bad, okay? The fly spray that I think it really works the best is Piranha fly spray. Out of all the different brands of fly spray out in the market, I've used them all, okay, over the last 20 years. I think Piranha by far makes the best fly spray out there. Whether you use it in the aerosol or in the spray bottle, it lasts a long time, it keeps the flies off, and it really is the best value for money. So a lot of horses have trouble with you applying fly spray on them, okay? My suggestion is most horses are a little bit skeptical about fly sprays because it's an object that moves and makes a noise, okay? When you spray it, it does make a noise and something comes out of it. My recommendation to you is get an empty, if your horse has a problem with this, of course, get an empty Piranha fly spray bottle, fill it up full of water, and basically just desensitize the airspace around your horse. See how this mare doesn't like this? Okay, so just spray it around her until she stands still and relaxes. When she does, you can retreat. Very similar to what we did with the rope, okay, and the stick and string. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to start spraying it on her, okay? And you just follow them. See how she doesn't like that? She's frightened of fly spray. You just follow it, withers and back. When she stands and relaxes, retreat. So initially you'll just use water to get the horse to be relaxed to it. Withers and back, hindquarters, go up their neck. Once you do that top line, then you can start to go down their legs, and I'll put it on the jet at that point, okay? So I'm just using fly spray right now, but you know, if I was off camera and I wanted to train her, I would go ahead and just do water initially, and then I could do the fly spray. Excellent. Yeah, much, much better, okay? So it's very, very important, she's got to come off that pressure there, to use fly spray on your horses before or during the training session to keep the flies off. See how she's frightened of this? We'll just keep following her. Just keep following your horse. Keep spraying. Just keep following her. See, this is why you use water, so you don't waste so much fly spray doing this, okay? Withers and back. There, she finally stood still. Okay, and then retreat. Good girl. Withers and back, hindquarters, neck. Get that top line done first. And retreat and rubber. Then put it on the jet. Do their back legs. Stay up by their shoulder in case they kick at it initially. And then their front legs. You can pretty much desensitize a horse to anything by using approach and retreat. So I'm going to work with the fly spray a little bit more over the next couple of days and get her to where she's just absolutely bomb-proof with it. But she's got to get to a point where none of this bothers her one little bit. Good girl. Okay, so we got it down with Piranha fly spray. We're good to go now.
Ever wished Clinton Anderson would just come by and help you with your horse, or that he would put on a clinic in your own arena? Well, now you can get the next best thing. Meet the Clinton Anderson Certified Clinicians. Trained by Clinton himself, these great horsemen have met all the requirements of the Clinton Anderson Academy. 16 months of intensive training at the Downunder Horsemanship Ranch. Theoretical and practical testing on Clinton's method. Hands-on experience with problem horses. Now, there is a Clinton Anderson method expert willing and able to come to where you live and ride to teach a private lesson or put on a public clinic. Learn at your own pace. Get personalized instruction, all without having to travel far from home. So if you can't find the time or the money to come to a Clinton Anderson clinic at his ranch, now you have an option. Get accelerated results. Let a Clinton Anderson certified clinician bring the method to you. Visit certifiedclinician.com for more.
Verify ready to resume count and go for launch.
Minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
Flight is go.
2, 1, 0.
And good evening, one stretch helicopter. I'll start my full at this time. Chief engineer, verify ready to resume count and go for launch.
Is there news there?
Now, mate, that we put the fly spray on Cider and we've got that taken care of, and it's very important during the summertime when you're working with them, put that fly spray on so they're not annoyed by the flies. I've taken the boots off her and I want to show you some techniques on getting your horses to stand still and get to where you can pick up their feet and the horse doesn't fight with you or struggle. We get lots of questions at Downunder Horsemanship on tour and clinics and on the web about people that have horses that don't want to stand still for the farrier. They won't let you trim their feet. They want to move around. They want to kick. So I'm going to show you the techniques that I use in, first of all, getting any horse to be able to where you can pick up their feet, whether it's a foal, a weanling, yearling, it's an older horse, etc. And then I'm going to show you a few techniques if you've got an older horse that has some problems with their legs, some little techniques that you can use to encourage them to want to stand still, okay? So the first thing I want to get across to people is that it's amazing how many people walk up to me and they'll say, well, Clinton, you know, I can't pick up my horse's foot. No, you know, my horse won't stand still for the farrier. And I'll walk up to the horse and you can barely just even touch its leg. If you can't really vigorously rub all over your horse's leg and touch it, there's no way in the world they're going to let you pick it up and start pulling on it and you know, hammering something on it or rasping or anything like that at all. So my first step is just getting to make sure that my horse is very, very comfortable with this rope being wrapped around their legs, okay? We've already done this with Cider, but it's very, very important to do this with every horse, and especially with your foals, your weanlings, your yearlings, any of those type of horses, it's very important to do it with the young horses, okay? Do it with the front legs and the back legs. Like, I kind of like it how she's kind of got her leg cocked there and she's nice and relaxed. That's kind of what we're looking for, just a nice, relaxed horse, okay? Next thing I'm going to start to do is I want to make sure I can vigorously rub the horse's leg with my hand. If I can't rub their leg with my hand without them moving around a bunch, okay, we're in problem. We got some problems there. Now, if I start rubbing the horse's leg and they start moving around, I'm just going to keep rubbing it as they're walking. I'm going to keep the horse's head tipped slightly towards me, and I'm going to keep rubbing their leg. And as soon as they stand still and relax, I'm going to take my hand away and go back to their withers and just rub them and scratch them on their withers. And now I'm going to approach, go and rub them again, up and down their leg, get them comfortable with this, and then I'm going to retreat and go back up to their withers. See, what a lot of people do is they actually teach the horse to walk around or move, because every single time the horse moves his feet and gets upset, they take their hand away from the horse's leg, or they try to make the horse stand still. We're never going to make the horse stand still. What we're going to do is set up in a situation where the horse wants to stand still by themselves, okay? So once I've got the horse comfortable with me rubbing their legs with my hand, I'll just start with the front feet, then we'll walk back to the back legs, okay? That's our first step there. Next, what I want to do is I want to get the horse to have a cue, basically, that when I squeeze the inside of their leg, squeeze that chestnut, they take their weight off that leg and pick their foot up a little bit, okay? What do I mean by their chestnut here? This hard lump of skin right here above their knee, some people call it a chestnut or an ergot, you can call it all different types of things, but basically what I want to do is I want to squeeze it and get ready, there. When she takes her weight off that leg and picks her foot up, I immediately take my hand away, and now I'm going to go back and just rub it a little bit. By squeezing that chestnut, it makes the horse feel just a little bit uncomfortable. It's kind of just like a little bit of annoyance. Somebody got your skin and just slowly squeezed it or pinched it. Eventually it would become uncomfortable. Now, once she realizes when I squeeze her there, what she's supposed to do is pick that leg up. Once she gets to understand that, I'll barely touch that chestnut and she'll immediately pick her leg up. So in the beginning, I have to put more pressure on it, but once she learns, I can just barely touch it. So that's my next cue, is just touch it here and just gently squeeze it, there. As soon as the leg comes off the ground, I rub it with my hand. The reason why I want to rub it with my hand is that I don't want her to think that every time I touch her leg, I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze or pinch her. I want her to realize I'm gently squeezing and pinching until she picks that foot up. If every time you touch their chest and touch their leg, you're squeezing and pinching them, some horses will get a little defensive about it and they'll start running away from you and because they're worried about you, or they'll get a little defensive and want to kick at you or strike because they're trying to protect themselves, okay? So I always want to come back and rub it away. So I'm going to touch it, squeeze, twist my fingers here. She's leaning on this foot, wrong leg, there. So that time she picked up the wrong leg. She picked up the left one and her right, my left, okay? She wanted to pick up her right front foot. So I kept squeezing it until she picked up her left one. There we go, just like that there, okay? So that's our next goal basically. Until that's good, we don't want to move on. Now the reason why this is important is that a lot of people want to start pulling and tugging on the horse's leg to get them to pick up their leg, okay? And I don't want to have to get into a tug-of-war with my horse to get them to pick up their leg. I want them to offer it to me. So that's why we teach them this cue of just picking up their leg. Usually what I do is I have the lead rope go behind my back. I usually just have it over my elbow like that. If I'm dealing with a kind of a wild or spookier horse, I might have their head tipped slightly towards me like that. So that way if they moved, their hindquarters would go away. So I'm going to squeeze it again. Now next step is I'm going to hold it up for a second, then drop it, okay? By holding it up for 1 second, then immediately dropping it, I'm approaching, then retreating just as quickly. What a lot of people do is when they first pick up the horse's foot, they want to hold it up for 30, 40 seconds or a minute and a half, okay? And then the horse struggles, jerks the foot out of their hand, and then they get in this battle and they have to start all over again. I want to teach the horse the quickest way for me to let go of your foot is to pick it up and relax, okay? So it's kind of like a little theory. If I think the horse is going to jerk their foot away in 5 seconds, I'm going to release it in 4 seconds. So I want to be always the one that releases the horse's foot. Now sometimes, of course, the horse will jerk their leg out of your hand and pull it away from you. And if that happens, immediately try to pick it back up again. And then as soon as you pick it back up, release it when the horse relaxes, okay?
Clinton Anderson, world-renowned horseman, has designed one of today's most unique handcrafted saddles. Combining time-worn traditions with the latest innovations in saddle making, Clinton and Martin's Saddlery have created the ultimate Aussie saddle, hand-tooled, double-stitched out of premium leather. It's tree handcrafted from Dakota pine. The perfectly engineered fiberglass seat guarantees a natural fit. Eliminates pressure points. This is a saddle built with real life in mind. It gives a rider unique balance, security, comfort, a strong seat, and a perfect fit. Maximizing performance for you and your horse through coordinated movement, a secure and balanced seat, free range of motion, just as nature intended. Clinton Anderson combines the perfect combination of Aussie and American saddle making. Clinton Anderson Aussie Saddle, made exclusively for Downunder Horsemanship. Call or click to order today, or shop our store at a Clinton Anderson Tour event near you.
Basically, once you got them to a point where they'll hold it up, then you want to start rubbing it, okay, and get them comfortable with this. Now, let's just say the horse wanted to struggle and move his foot, so I'm going to make her do it. But if she started to struggle right now, instead of trying to keep the foot still and kind of locking onto it, okay, and acting like a predator, try to go with the horse. Usually what I do is I turn their hoof up like that, and I kind of grab it on the end with my hand. And if they struggle, I just try to keep their foot off the ground. And the best way to do that is to keep their leg bent. As soon as you kind of let their foot straighten out, that's when they put all their weight on it and throw their leg down. So the more you can keep the hoof up and bent, their leg bent, the better shape you're in. So I'll just go with them and they'll struggle back and forth, and then all of a sudden, they'll quit struggling. As soon as they quit struggling and relax, drop the foot immediately. See, that's the key. As soon as the horse stops struggling, retreat and let the foot go. So you're going to remember, why is the horse struggling in the beginning? He's struggling because he wants you to let go of his foot. Well, teach the horse as soon as he keeps his leg relaxed and still, you'll let go of the foot so he gets what he wants and you get what you want, okay? So pretty soon the horse says, I get it. All I've got to do to get Clinton to let go of my foot is to not struggle. As soon as I relax and stop struggling, I get to put my foot back down. what the mistake that most people make is that when the horse stops struggling, that's when they want to go in and trim them or nail that shoe on, or it's kind of like, you know, the horse is almost on the trailer and his butt's about 2 inches from getting in the back door of the trailer, and some big fat redneck yells out, "Shut the gate," you know, and the horse races out backwards. As soon as your horse does something good, you want to retreat and take it away, take that pressure away. As humans, what we like to do, and we can't help ourselves because this is the way we are, is we want to go in for more. Well, she's finally quit struggling, so nail it on. Or she's finally quit moving around, quickly rasp it. We should do the actual opposite of that. Every time they relax, take that pressure away. Okay, and in fact, what I'll do sometimes, I'll use a little reverse psychology. If they want to move their foot around, I'll actually make them, like I'll really move it back and forth, and then I'll keep it still and release it. You'd be amazed with horses when you start doing a little reverse psychology and you start moving their leg back and forth and making that a little uncomfortable for them. And as soon as you keep it still, you drop it. Pretty soon they think keeping their foot still is a lot better option, okay? So basically my next step is just making sure, notice that I always squeeze that every time, that my horse is comfortable with me just handling his leg. Not just handling his leg, but moving it back and forth. From that point, then I'm gonna start to put it between my legs. Now I might put it between my legs and then immediately drop it. Again, don't make the mistake of putting it between your legs and trying to keep it there for 2 minutes. Build up to that. Now, especially if the horse is behaving well and doing things really good, you can move through this pretty quickly. I'm taking my time right now and explaining all the steps, but you know, if a horse is being pretty cooperative, you can do all this in less than 5-6 minutes, okay? It doesn't take a long time, but remember, build it in stages. Pick up here. Remember, look at it like this. When you squeeze that chestnut, that's like them offering that foot to you. I never want to pick up a horse's foot where I have to take it from them. I always want them to offer it by picking up their leg first. So when I squeeze it, I'm saying, "Would you please give me your leg?" And she says, "Yeah, I'd love to." See how I picked it up? Now, she's getting to the point now, but as soon as I touch it, she's putting that foot in my hand. That's what I'm looking for. They'll get so sensitive that as soon as you reach like that, they'll automatically start to do it. Now, she's not quite at that point right now, but you'll be amazed how light they get. There, that was better. Okay? So then put it between your legs. Okay, and then I'm gonna start to tap on it. Okay? If you're a little bit worried about what they might do, tip their head towards you. That way, if their head's towards you, their butt will go the other way. And start tapping it up and down here a little bit, pulling on it, okay? If she struggles with it, you might have to take it out from underneath your leg like that and let her struggle, keep it off the ground. As soon as she relaxes, retreat. Don't make the mistake that as soon as the horse relaxes, you put it back between your legs again. Always retreat and take the pressure away when the horse relaxes. So once they're comfortable with that, then I like to take it another step further. Let me squeeze here, there we go. And I'll actually get a rock, okay, or a rasp, and I'll just start tapping the bottom of it so that if you were gonna shoe one, okay, you get them used to that tapping sensation, okay? But you know, even if you're not gonna shoe them and you're gonna use the barefoot method, okay, it's always good just to get them to where you can tap things on the bottom of their foot and they don't overreact to it, okay, and then retreat, okay? Now, once you've got the front end good, then I start working with the back end. Quite honestly, if they're not good with their front feet, I usually don't worry about their back feet too much. Usually the back feet are a little bit harder than the front. Now when I say harder, if you haven't done your homework and you skip too many steps, the back feet are harder. If you've done your homework and you've followed the steps and you've done the desensitizing, the back feet aren't a problem whatsoever, okay? So that's how we handle the front feet. Now, I do this with, I do the same process whether it's a baby foal, it's a weanling, yearling. I follow the exact same steps on any type of horse, okay? Usually if it's an older horse that's been a real problem and he's been kicking at the farrier and he won't stand still and all this kind of stuff, I won't work on the feet for about a week, basically. You know, when I was in Australia, I used to be a professional horse trainer. Now I'm a professional people trainer. But when I was in Australia, people would bring me all kinds of problem horses. They'd bring me horses that wanted to buck and rear and bolt and spook and carry on, and horses that didn't want to stand still for the farrier. When I got those horses that had farrieing problems where they didn't want to stand still and they wanted to be a real problem, the first thing I didn't want to do is go straight to their feet. I started doing the groundwork first, getting their hindquarters to move, getting their forequarters to move, backing them up, doing the round pen, do all the desensitizing. And after a week of me gaining the horse's respect and getting that horse to use the thinking side of his brain, then when I came back to the horse's feet again, it was relatively easy. There was no problem. But I guarantee if I would have worked with their feet, you know, on the first day, so to speak, with a real problem horse, it's not so much of a problem with her. She doesn't seem to have a real problem with it. But if she was a horse that came to me with a history of having problems with having her feet handled, I wouldn't be doing it today. I'd be doing it several weeks later, or at the end, or at least at the end of the week, okay, at the earliest. So keep that in mind. You'll get a lot of success if you don't start it straight away with an older problem horse, okay? So let's move on to the back legs a little bit. On the back legs, it's very much the same process, okay, as far as step one is, making sure that my horse is comfortable with having this rope around their back leg. You can get your stick and string, you can rub the stick on the horse's back legs, etc. Make sure the horse is comfortable with this. If your horse is not comfortable with this rope touching them all over, don't even think about trying to pick their foot up, okay? Let me just turn her a little bit this way. Now what you want to do is start doing the same process but on the back leg, except now what I'm going to do is I'm going to squeeze a hock here. When I squeeze this hock, I want her to pick a foot up off the ground. Okay, so I'm going to squeeze it, squeeze it, squeeze it. They're not quite as sensitive here. Squeeze it, there. As soon as she picks a foot up, take it away immediately, and now go back and just rub that hock. Okay. Usually their hock, they're not quite as sensitive on that cap, so you might have to squeeze it and kind of twist it, or maybe dig your fingernails in a little bit to make it more uncomfortable. It really depends on how sensitive your horse is. If you've got a hot-blooded thoroughbred Arab that's very, very sensitive, barely squeezing it is usually all it takes to get them to pick their foot up. If you've got a cold-blooded, fat, lazy horse that dreams about sleeping, you might have to twist it off their hock to get them to pick their foot up, okay? So it depends on how naturally sensitive the horse is. Okay, so squeeze it here, wait, there. When she picks it up, retreat. And then you pretty much just follow the same process, okay? And then you slowly start holding it up for longer amounts of time, okay? And then you can slowly start taking that foot out the back of the horse, okay? So I've kind of moved through the steps on the back foot here a little quicker than the front, but it's the same process, just build on it, okay? And then release it. But anytime that horse leans on you, just drop out from underneath that foot and make them rebalance themselves. So I hope some of these tips have helped you with your horses and getting them to where they'll stand still, not struggle. And remember, approach and retreat is the answer that you're looking for. Every time they relax, retreat, take that pressure away and reward them. And you'll find the more you do that, the better they'll get with their feet, mate.
Fundamentals has shown you the basics. Now it's time to put those principles into practice. Get out of the arena and get on the trail. This all-new supplement will show you how to apply the method on the trail. You get 10 instruction-packed DVDs and 2 hardcover books. That's over $800 worth of training for only $3.99. Get up, get out, and get on the trail.
One of the major mistakes that I see people make all over the country that are using these rope halters, it's very, very important that you put them on the right way, okay? We spoke a little bit about taking a halter on and off, and I just want to recap. Anytime you take a halter off a horse, get them in a habit of when you undo it, make sure their nose stays tipped towards you like that. Don't let your horse get in a habit of taking their head away from you or turning or bolting away from you. Whenever you put a halter on, the first thing you do is get this around their neck. So that way, if they went to take off, you can pull them towards you, okay? Get their head now tipped towards you. You can get your fingertips on the other side of their cheekbone and just dig them in a little bit. There, when she bends, rub her. Take it around, take the crown piece around the neck, and then you just scoop their nose. But the whole time, you keep their head tipped towards you. By keeping their head tipped towards you, okay, it's making sure that the horse will give you 2 eyes. Now look how I tie the knot here. It's very, very important to always take your rope through the loop like so, and then go around the back of the loop and through, so that the tail is always facing back. What most people do here is they'll go ahead and they'll take it over the top and put their knot over the top like that. Okay, you don't want that. You always want your knot to be below the loop. So go through the loop, around the back of it, like that. And that way it won't slip. Now when I'm doing my groundwork, I like the halter to hang a little bit lower on their nose. The lower it is on their nose, the better these knots work off the pressure points. Like you'll see when I press these knots, see how they cause the horse to yield away? Okay, it teaches them to give a lot better. Wait, there we go. Okay, so it's very important when I tying the horse up, I do the halter up quite a bit higher on their head, but when I'm doing the groundwork, I like it to hang nice and low like that. That's a go, good go. Well, I think it's time to end the session with Cider now. We've worked her in the round pen now, we've yielded her hindquarters, we've desensitized her with the rope, the stick and string. This would be a great place to finish her off. She's quiet, she's licking her lips, she's using the thinking side of her brain, okay? Now I want to recap again, it's very important to have the right tools to get the job done. Make sure you've got your classic equine legacy boots on your horse so that they don't hit their legs and hurt themselves when you're working with them. Make sure you've got the halter and lead rope the right length, the right materials, and your stick and string. By having the right tools, it will ensure that you and your horse make a lot of progress in a very short amount of time. See, I love this. This is a great place for me to quit a horse. She's calm, she's using the thinking side of her brain, she's relaxed. Hey, you ready to quit? Okay, so next time we come back, what we're going to do is we're going to start most of the session with the halter and lead rope and start getting more control of her feet by yielding her hindquarters, yielding her forequarters, backing her. We're going to start getting a lot more broke and get her ready to saddle as well.